something just shifted in Washington, and your bank account will feel it before most people even hear about it. If you're receiving SSI, SSDI, or VA benefits, March 2025 is not a normal payment month, and missing this update could leave you staring at an empty account on a day you expected a deposit. The Social Security Administration has officially adjusted the payment schedule for March, and because of how the calendar falls this year, thousands of beneficiaries are going to get paid earlier than expected, while others might think their money is late when it's actually already been sent. On top of that, there are new adjustments hitting SSI amounts, updated SSDI processing rules, and VA benefit changes that went into effect without much noise in the mainstream media. Nobody is putting this in simple language for everyday people. So right here, right now, we're breaking down every date, every dollar, and every detail you need to protect your income this month. Stay with us. This is the one video you cannot afford to skip. So let's get right into it, because there is genuinely a lot happening this March that affects real money going into real pockets across this country. And the frustrating thing is, most of this information is buried in government websites written in language that feels like it was designed to confuse people rather than help them. That stops right here. We are going to walk through everything: the payment dates, the dollar changes, what is different about SSI this month, what SSDI recipients need to watch for, and what is going on with VA benefits, all in plain English, the way it should have been explained from the beginning. Let's start with the most pressing issue, which is the March payment schedule itself. Now, here is something that catches a lot of people off guard every single year. The Social Security Administration does not always pay you on the same calendar date each month. Your payment date actually depends on a few different factors, including your date of birth, whether you receive SSI versus SSDI, and whether the scheduled payment date falls on a weekend or a federal holiday. March 2025 has a specific calendar situation that is causing payment dates to shift, and if you do not know about it ahead of time, it can feel like your money has disappeared when in reality, it has simply moved. For SSI recipients specifically, this is especially important. Supplemental security income is always paid on the first of the month, always. But here is the rule that most people do not know. When the first of the month falls on a weekend or a holiday, SSA moves your payment to the last business day of the prior month. What this means practically is that some SSI recipients in March are going to see their payment arrive in late February rather than on March 1st. If you are one of those people and you are not expecting it, you might spend that money early and then find yourself short for the rest of the month. This is one of the most common financial mistakes SSI recipients make, and it happens every single time the calendar shifts like this. So if your SSI payment hits your account in the last couple of days of February, that is your March payment. Do not treat it like a bonus. Budget it as your March income and plan accordingly. Now, let's talk about SSDI payment dates, because this works a little differently and a lot of people mix the two up. If you receive Social Security disability insurance, your payment date is based on your birthday, specifically the day of the month you were born. If your birthday falls between the 1st and the 10th of any month, you get paid on the second Wednesday of that month. If your birthday falls between the 11th and the 20th, you get paid on the third Wednesday. And if your birthday falls between the 21st and the 31st, you get paid on the fourth Wednesday. This schedule stays consistent unless that Wednesday happens to fall on a federal holiday, in which case SSA moves the payment to the business day before the holiday. In March 2025, you need to check your specific Wednesday and make sure none of those dates conflict with any observed federal holidays, because even a one-day shift can affect when your direct deposit clears depending on your bank's processing time. Some banks post the payment immediately and some take an extra day. Knowing your date in advance gives you the power to plan and removes the anxiety of wondering where your money is. There is also a group of people who have been receiving Social Security since before May 1997, and those recipients follow a completely different schedule. If you have been on Social Security that long, your payment comes on the 3rd of every month regardless of your birthday. Again, if the 3rd falls on a weekend or holiday, it shifts to the prior business day. For March, you will want to confirm whether the 3rd is a regular business day or if any adjustment applies. Now, beyond the payment dates, there is something much bigger happening in 2025 that directly impacts the dollar amount many of you are receiving. The cost of living adjustment, what SSA calls the COLA, went into effect at the start of this year, and it is important that you actually understand what it means for your specific payment. For 2025, SSA announced a 2.5% cost of living adjustment. Now that might sound small, but on a fixed income, every dollar matters. If you were receiving $1,000 per month in SSDI benefits last year, that 2.5% increase adds $25 to your monthly payment, bringing it to $1,025. If you were receiving $700 in SSI, your new amount comes out to approximately $717 per month. These are not massive jumps, but they are real increases that you should be seeing in your payment right now. If your payment has not gone up and you have been on benefits since before January 2025, that is something you need to look into directly with SSA because every eligible recipient should be seeing the adjusted amount. The maximum SSI payment for 2025 has also changed. For an individual, the maximum federal SSI benefit is now $967 per month. For a couple where both individuals receive SSI, the maximum is $1,150 per month. These are the federal base amounts. Your state may add a supplemental payment on top of that depending on where you live, and states like California, New York, and several others do provide additional state supplements that can increase your total monthly SSI payment meaningfully. If you live in one of those states and you are not sure whether you are receiving your state supplement, it is worth a phone call to your local SSA office or your state's social services department to confirm you are getting everything you are entitled to. Let's move into SSDI in more depth, because there are some changes in 2025 that SSDI recipients specifically need to understand. First, the substantial gainful activity limit, which is the amount of money you are allowed to earn while still receiving SSDI, has increased for 2025. For non-blind SSDI recipients, the SGA limit is now $1,620 per month. For blind recipients, it is $2,700 per month. This matters enormously if you are trying to do any kind of part-time work or if you are in a trial work period. Earning above these thresholds can affect your eligibility, so knowing the exact numbers is critical. The trial work period threshold has also been updated for 2025, and any month in which you earn more than $1,110 counts as a trial work month. You are allowed 9 trial work months within a rolling 60-month window before SSA begins evaluating whether your disability benefits should continue. Understanding where you stand in that window is something you should track carefully, especially if you have been doing any work activity at all. Now let's spend some real time on VA benefits, because the changes happening there in 2025 are significant and they affect millions of veterans across the country. The Department of Veterans Affairs also applied a cost of living adjustment to VA disability compensation at the beginning of 2025, and that increase mirrors the SSA COLA at 2.5%. What this means is that if you are a veteran receiving VA disability compensation, your monthly payment has gone up by 2.5%, starting with your January 2025 payment. For a veteran rated at 100% disability with no dependents, the monthly compensation rate in 2025 is now over $3,700 per month. The exact amount depends on your disability rating and your dependent status, but every rating level has received the 2.5% increase. If you have dependents, a spouse, children, or a dependent parent, your rate is even higher, and those amounts have all been adjusted upward as well. VA payment dates also work differently from Social Security, and this is something a lot of veterans and their families do not fully understand. VA compensation and pension payments are made on the first business day of each month. So for March 2025, your VA payment should arrive on the first business day of March. If March 1st falls on a Saturday or Sunday, the payment moves to the Friday before. If it falls on a Monday holiday, it moves to the Friday before that. The key thing to remember is that VA pays at the beginning of the month for that current month, while Social Security technically pays in arrears, meaning your February benefit is paid in March. This distinction matters for budgeting and understanding your cash flow throughout the month. Something else veterans need to be aware of in 2025 is the ongoing expansion of VA healthcare eligibility under the PACT Act, which was signed into law in 2022, but whose effects are still rolling out. Millions of veterans who were previously ineligible for VA healthcare or disability compensation due to the requirement to prove a service connection are now eligible under the expanded toxic exposure provisions of the PACT Act. If you served in any era and were exposed to burn pits, Agent Orange, radiation, or other toxic substances, and you have not yet filed a claim or had a previous claim denied, 2025 is the year you need to revisit that. The VA is actively processing new claims under PACT Act presumptive conditions, and many veterans are receiving ratings and back pay that they were denied before this law changed everything. This is real money that many veterans are leaving on the table simply because they do not know the rules have changed. Now let's talk about something that affects people who receive both Social Security and SSI at the same time, which is called concurrent benefits. A lot of people do not realize that you can actually receive both SSDI and SSI simultaneously if your SSDI payment is low enough. This happens when your SSDI benefit falls below the SSI federal benefit rate. SSI essentially fills in the gap to bring your total monthly income up to the federal standard. If you are in this situation, both payment schedules apply to you. Your SSI portion follows the SSI payment rules, and your SSDI portion follows the birthday-based schedule. This can actually result in 2 separate deposits in a single month, which surprises a lot of concurrent beneficiaries the first time it happens. If you think you might qualify for concurrent benefits and you are currently only receiving one of the two, it is worth contacting SSA to have your case reviewed because you may be entitled to more than you are currently getting. Medicare is also closely tied to Social Security, and in 2025, there are premium changes that directly affect the net amount hitting your bank account if you have Medicare Part B. The standard Medicare Part B premium for 2025 has increased to $185 per month, up from $174.70 in 2024. For most Social Security recipients, this premium is automatically deducted from your monthly Social Security payment before it is deposited. That means even though your COLA increased your gross benefit by 2.5%, the Medicare Part B premium increase eats into some of that raise. For many people, the net increase after the Medicare deduction is smaller than they expected. This is not a mistake on your statement. It is the combination of the COLA increase and the premium adjustment happening at the same time. Knowing this ahead of time prevents the confusion and worry of thinking your payment was calculated incorrectly. The Medicare Part B deductible has also changed for 2025. The annual deductible is now $257, up from $240 in 2024. This is the amount you pay out of pocket before Medicare begins covering your medical costs each year. If you have a supplemental Medigap policy, this deductible may be covered depending on which plan you have. But if you are on original Medicare without a supplement, you will want to factor that $257 into your annual healthcare budget for 2025. Let's also address the Social Security earnings limit for people who have reached full retirement age and those who have not. If you are under full retirement age and still working while collecting Social Security retirement benefits, which is different from SSDI but worth covering, the earnings limit for 2025 is $22,320 per year. For every $2 you earn above that limit, SSA withholds $1 of your Social Security benefit. However, once you reach full retirement age, that earnings limit disappears entirely and you can earn as much as you want without any reduction to your Social Security benefit. For people who are approaching full retirement age this year, understanding exactly when that clock resets is important for making work decisions in 2025. One more thing that deserves attention is the way SSA is processing overpayment recovery in 2025, because the rules around this changed significantly and it directly impacts beneficiaries who were notified of an overpayment. Previously, if SSA determined you had been overpaid, they could withhold up to 100% of your monthly benefit to recover that overpayment, which for many people on a fixed income meant receiving nothing for 1 or more months. Following widespread criticism and advocacy from beneficiaries and consumer groups, SSA changed its default overpayment withholding rate. The new standard withholding rate for overpayment recovery is now 10% of your monthly benefit, not 100%. This is a massive relief for people facing large overpayment notices. And if you received an overpayment determination recently and were told a large chunk of your check would be withheld, you need to contact SSA and make sure they are applying the updated 10% rate to your case. If they have been withholding more than that and you did not request a different rate, you have the right to request an adjustment. All of this information, the dates, the dollar amounts, the rule changes, the VA updates, exists in various places across government websites, but it is scattered, technical, and honestly difficult for most people to piece together into a clear picture of what is actually happening to their benefits right now. That is exactly why you are here, and exactly why this channel exists. Your benefits are not just numbers on a government document. They are your income, your stability, and in many cases, the foundation of your entire financial life. You deserve to understand them completely, and you deserve to get that information in a way that respects your intelligence and your time.